Hi, Russell Cummings. Just wanted to talk you through a simple tool that I use with my clients to help them map out processes and I guess activities that we want to put some rules and some actions about, so that we've got a structured process to follow when we want to implement these things. It's a simple tool that we call a PROD, you should have a template. I've pulled together a template that you can use. There's a Word template that we have that allows you to pull this together, but quite simply, to do a PROD, you define the name or the title of the process or the thing that you're going to do. Let's say, for an example, we're going to have a process that's about sending our company newsletter out on a regular basis. So it could be, we'll entitle it our sending the newsletter process. Okay. And for the purposes of the example, let's assume that the company already has developed the newsletter and we're just going to now send it out. So then under purpose, we want to define what's the purpose of this process or this activity. What are we really trying to do? And so, for example, with our newsletter one, it could be the purpose is to ensure that all people on our mailing list get the latest copy of our newsletter. So that's the purpose of it. So we're really clear on that. So spend some time thinking about the purpose. Then the R of PROD is for rules. So we think about what are some of the rules, and this can be unofficial or official rules, but what are some of the rules that are going to govern this activity or this use? And there can be rules around, if it's a group or something you're doing, it can be rules around who's a member and what you've got to be a member of that group or attend the meetings or whatever. But, let's say for argument's sake, for our send the newsletter thing, that one of the rules is the newsletter must be sent every 2 weeks on a Monday evening after 6 p.m. The second rule is that all people in the newsletter must be registered to receive the newsletter, meaning that we are compliant with all appropriate spam legislation. And the third rule is that we must send a copy of the newsletter to some of our own internal people as a quality control measure. All right, this is just quite simple. So we define the rules. So the rules that determine some of the boundaries for that activity. We then define who's the output, and in some cases who's the customer who receives that output. Alright, so that's the O. So in terms of outputs, for our example, it would be the two outputs from it would just be an updated mailing list and the latest copy of the newsletter would be the two outputs from this process. Okay, so you just want the concrete outputs from the process. So it's different to the purpose. The purpose is the big picture, what you're aiming for. The outputs is the concrete outputs and possibly to a customer. It'd be specific to a customer. Now the last thing, the D of PROD, is about deployment, or is really your action plan or the action steps you need to take in order to put it together. And on the template there's a space for you to put in the action steps and who's responsible and when the timing needs to be in some of these things. But some of the steps, say for our newsletter, could be the first step we need to update our mailing list. We then need to check that the newsletter's ready to go. 3 would be a test send of the newsletter to make sure that it comes through the email appropriately. And then the 4th thing is that we would then send it to the mailing list. And then 5, we would check with our internal people to make sure that the newsletter came through. And 6 would be take corrective action if not. So that's a simple PROD. That's how you put it together. Use the template. It doesn't mean to be an elaborate thing, but you do need to put down the important things are to be really clear on the purpose, get the rules right, define what are the outputs, so what is this process going to deliver, or what's this activity going to deliver, and then lastly, what are the steps in making that happen. That's a simple PROD. Hope you enjoy it. It's a really powerful tool that you can use in lots of different situations.